Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro, friends. Today's episode of the podcast is brought to you by Elixir Specialty Coffee. Looks like whiskey, definitely looks like whiskey. Made from coffee, looks like whiskey, feels like tea, made from coffee, and unlike anything you've ever tasted before. Grab your Elixir at elixirspecialtycoffee.com and enter code IMAPITFORWARD for 10% off your first purchase today. Today on the Daily Coffee Pro, we are talking about a question that I get more than any other question, and that is, how much money do I need to open my own cafe or roastery? I want you guys to let go of the idea that there is a golden number, because there's not. And there are a number of strategies. Head to the mapitforward.org, mapitforward.org/blogs for our most recent post. I'm going to start blogging a lot more. We have a new post that is 6 tips to help you specifically with this subject. Because I keep getting messages from people saying, not only asking this question, but saying, hey, listen, I don't have a lot of money, but I live in an area where there's really shit coffee. And you know what? I'm sure it's not going to take a lot of money for me to open a cafe. And I'm so heartbroken by how many people come to me, ask me how much money they're going to need to open a cafe. I try and advise them on it. They'll pay me an hour's consult to help them, and they go ahead and do it anyway, completely disregard my advice, and then close within 6 to 12 months. And I want to see more people succeeding, and I want to see more people considering how they can conspire to their own success by perhaps taking a little bit longer to open their own cafes, but by doing so, and I know that that's frustrating, but I promise you it will give you a better chance to your success. So what are these 6 tips that I have been talking about that will help you know how much money that you need to open your own cafe? First of all, I always talk in our workshops and webinars about the idea of conceiving a concept, and the basis of every single business is having a great concept behind it. So, what do I mean by that? I want you to think about what is the driving force behind why you want to open a cafe or a roastery, and then think about what's the concept that's going to make your business different from everybody else. So in the example where people are telling me that everyone around them makes really shit coffee or roasts really shit coffee, okay, the concept is that you're going to roast coffee. Let's keep it really general for a second. You're going to open the first light roasted coffee brand in your area, and you're going to open a cafe that brews coffee that perhaps you're the first to offer pour-overs and specialty type third wave beverages. Okay, so that would be a unique offering in your local area. And the concept starts there. And you need to clearly define within yourself what that concept is, and it should be 1 or 2 sentences. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to imagine it. And this is the creative fun part of what you're going to do. What I want you to do is to spend as much time over as long as you need. It could be 2 days, it could be 2 months, it could be something you've been dreaming up for the last 10 years. But I want you to go into as much detail as possible to imagine every year so everything you need up until getting open and the 5 years that follow being open. And I want you to think of as much detail as possible, what the walls look like, what the bathrooms look like, who your staff are, what uniforms they have, what your customers look like, who they are, what age group they're in, how that will evolve. I want you to imagine what it feels like for people to sit on the chairs that you've chosen. I want you to think about what your marketing strategies will be, what social media looks like for you, how you'll engage on social media. I want you to imagine at what point you'll need to exchange equipment and what you want to progress to. I want you to think about what it's going to feel like and look like to promote people, and all the tiny minute details that it takes to imagine every individual year as that growth process happens for 5 years. Why is Lee, the craziness that is Lee, getting us to put all of this effort into doing that? Because I want you to then take that and write a synopsis, at least a 1-page synopsis on all of the detail that you imagine. I then want you to take a highlighter, whether it's a digital highlighter or an actual highlighter, and I want you to highlight everything in that synopsis that costs money. And it's important to write down these numbers. I want you to create 2 lists. One list or in a spreadsheet. One of the sheets in your spreadsheet is going to be called starting capital. And the next one is going to be working and growth capital. So on the starting capital one, I want you to take your synopsis, which is going to tell you everything up like for the first year and moving forward the next 5 years. Take everything that's required for you to get the doors open and add to that. So get it open, write everything down, all your wages, all your equipment, all your operating expenses for the first few months at least. Your wages for the first 12 months, okay? You need to have in the bank on the day that you open. That's the next tip, is you have to have in the bank 12 months worth of wages included in your starting capital. But have a list, go through everything that you've looked at, write it all down, and then that will give you a very general, it will not be a complete list, but it will give you a very general idea of what you will need to open your cafe, and then do the same thing for everything that you've highlighted every single year after that. It will help. Doing it for every single year after that will help you understand what are the things that I can see that I'm going to need to invest in as I grow, and how many of those things, or what from those things, can I incorporate into my initial investment. So an example here is that if you've decided you would like to grow your wholesale roasting program beyond, what the requirements of a 2-kilo roaster would be, which is what you're thinking of getting to open the business. And let's say in order to fulfill that for 5 years from now, you'll need a 12-kilo roaster. If your budget allows you to buy the 12-kilo roaster off the bat, then buy the 12-kilo roaster off the bat. It means that you won't have to upgrade later. Okay, and also it allows for the fact that you may experience some unexpected growth curves, and you'll be ready for them. So conceiving it, and so step 1, conceive it. Step 2, imagine it. Step 3, write down all of these numbers in a spreadsheet. And as I said, I promise you, they will not in any way, shape or form be a complete list. But just this list alone will shock you. And to get the complete list, you can then talk to more people. But what we're trying to do at this stage is just get an understanding of how much working capital and starting capital you'll need to have your own cafe or roastery or both. The next thing I want you to think about, step number 4. It's going to take you double what you think it's going to take you. It's going to take you double the amount of time to get either a roastery or a cafe open. And you're going to earn half as much as what your projected sales are going to tell you. Ask anybody that's opened a cafe or a roastery, and they will all tell you the same thing. No matter how many times they've done it before, everything always runs late. Everything always costs you twice as much as you think it's going to cost you, no matter how conservative you are. And business never happens as quickly Well, it's not never, but very rarely. Like on the only times I've ever heard of businesses going gangbusters from the word go is when people have put the work in up front and done all the marketing up front that most people put in after they open. So you can get a line out the door from the day that you open, but the amount of marketing that's required is probably a 2 or 3 year lead up, and it requires an extraordinary amount of effort and money. Okay, but tip number 4 is really important, and you need to keep it in mind when coming up with this number. Step number 5 is something that I mentioned before. Have 12 months worth of wages in the bank as starting capital on the day you open the doors. Your wages are going to be the number one money suck off your bottom line. And so if you are prepared for that, and you are able to keep your wages running, because they're the number one thing you have to make sure that you pay every month or every week, that whatever your cycle is. As long as you have that money already accounted for, you are alleviating an exorbitant amount of stress from you as a business owner. Now, tip number 6, don't rush it. What I see is the next thing that makes most businesses fail is they either open too quickly because they're trying to prove that they are the ones that can get everything open on time, or they think, fuck it, like I know that I should wait till I can secure more capital to open, but what I'm going to do is just wing it anyway. The other thing that people do is they'll open a business and then they think, well, I'm really good at opening a business. So, and now this is running, I've got a really great opportunity and I should maybe open another one. Please resist the urge. Resist the urge and don't rush it. If you haven't been open for 3 years, please just make sure that you've cleared enough debt. Make sure that you've got this flow happening. And once you have been open for 3 years, you're going to be much more likely to make it work when you open your next cafe. If you don't have a lot of experience in coffee, please hear me now when I tell you none of this is even close to as easy as you think it is. Okay? We don't have any degrees or any licenses or anything like that make us, that we're required to pass, that tell us we know how to run businesses in the coffee industry, or we understand the coffee supply chain, or we, can read green coffee buying contracts or anything like that. But if you take the time to do these 6 things and read the blog post that I mentioned, it'll give you a better understanding of exactly what's required for you to step into this realm. And the reason I'm encouraging this is because I want more businesses to succeed. I want more people that are getting into this to feel confident that they are going to succeed. 20% of small businesses in America close in their first 12 months. Now, and that's a pretty stable number over decades. 20% in the first year, 40% within the first 3 years. Now, in specialty coffee particularly, there is year on year, there is a bigger and bigger number of businesses that are opening. So while that 20% remains constant, that's still a bigger number of cafes, because 20% of a bigger number is a bigger number. We still have a bigger number of cafes closing. I'm sorry, I'm tripping over my words today. And so I want to help people get around their heads that this leads to a saturated market. And if you are opening up in a saturated market, the best way that you can give yourself the opportunity to win is by having all your ducks in a row. So the answer, to come back full circle, the answer to the question, how much money do I need to open up a cafe, is dependent on the lavishness of what you have imagined through our steps. Now, once you have those numbers, you can turn around and say, well, how much capital can I actually secure? Well, it's only 50% of what I thought and imagined I would need. And I guarantee you the number that you end up coming up with is going to shock the shit out of you. But at least you will be doing this with eyes wide open. Okay? You can take a look at that and say, well, I thought I would only need $100,000 to open this business. I actually need a minimum of about $300,000. And if I want to do this properly, I'm going to need to double that. Can I actually get my hands on $600,000? And if I can't, how do I scale my perfect, beautiful, amazing idea down to something that fits into the budget that I actually can afford? So I hope that helps. If you have any further questions or comments, please head to our blog post and leave any comments or questions there, mapperforward.org/blog. And so let's start a conversation there. My goal is to blog at least twice a week. So head there, and if you have any questions, please make sure that you ask them. Ask them either through here or ask them through our email. And if you haven't signed up to our mailing list, please do so. And hit the subscribe button here or here, wherever it is that you are watching this. And if you are listening to this, please hit the subscribe button as well. Peace, love, and peanut butter, friends. Have an amazing rest of your day.